AM 790 Talk and Business presents The Coalition, a weekly 1-hour show that looks at all sides of local, regional, and national news, as well as current events. Join us now for The Coalition.
And we are The Coalition, loud and proud, outrage porn free, issues driven. Facebook.com/The Coalition Radio, on the mighty Twitter, Coalition_radio. Of course, you can dial in at 401-437-5000. And if you're more of a digital type of guy or gal, the outrage line where you can hurl all sorts of invective, personal attacks, safe word free invective. P.O. Taxpayer at the mighty Twitter. I am joined, of course, by my co-host, Dave Fisher. Dave, welcome back for another week.
Thank you very much. Sorry I missed the show last week, but unfortunately illness hit me pretty hard, and I'm actually just kind of getting over it these last couple of days. My ears are kind of blocked up, which I don't think going to see a Pink Floyd tribute band last night did much for my hearing. So I just want to give a quick plug to the Stadium Theater up in Woonsocket. Folks, if you haven't been there to see a show, some fantastic, theater, rock and roll music, you name it, arts programs for the kids, acting. My niece Clover is in one of the acting classes there, and they do a fantastic job up there. So, support your local art before it's not local anymore.
And the beauty of real rock and roll like Pink Floyd, I believe one of my Facebook friends, Roland Lovely, who's a member of the Tea Party, was also there last night. So rock and roll brings everyone.
It most certainly does.
Everyone together.
I'm surprised. I mean, they did the whole Dark Side of the Moon last night, which was kind of neat. Had the sax player, and the chick was wailing. And
was Woonsocket, the industrial Woonsocket, the actual background though?
No, it could have been though. Very much like the album cover for Animals. That kind of Manchester,
there's sort of
Britain.
There's sort of an analogy there, isn't there?
Well, the fall of empires.
This week, of course, in terms of passings, noted the other day the passing of Leonard Nimoy, otherwise known as Spock. Mr. Spock, not Dr. Spock.
I've corrected more people on the doctor. So Dr. Spock was like a child psychologist.
Right, who is now fallen into disrepair. Whereas Leonard Nimoy, in really a rarity in the public culture, grew in the years past his initial TV fame and became something of a philosopher, a supporter of the arts, a supporter of Judaism, I had the opportunity here in Rhode Island, and I'd love if anyone called in and actually saw this live at the Vet. One of the local temples actually sponsored about 4 years ago, I believe it was, a performance art piece revolving around the anniversary of Kristallnacht. And, of course, given today's politics and given what's happening in the Middle East, there is, unfortunately, an analogy there to be drawn. The brilliance of it was listening to Leonard Nimoy deliver the spoken word as he observed sort of the feelings and the philosophies that were going on at the time of Kristallnacht. If you're unfamiliar with Kristallnacht, of course, that was the pillaging of the Jewish community in Germany in the run-up to World War II and Nazi domination. If that at all sounds familiar and grabbed out of today's headlines, you would be correct. But to me, as someone who grew up in the period of Spock and then watched him evolve into the movies, and then watched, as I said, him evolve into being a personal philosopher and someone who just always contributed to the public debate, it's a real passing, because to me this was one of the last of, I'll call it, the celebrities who actually had any sort of depth, who actually had any sort of meaning behind his character. I shall miss him profoundly, and I think as we look at the People magazine generation that we're currently involved in, I think all of us would do well to really observe his spirit. His final tweet, and I guess we've come to the point, we've remarked about the power of Twitter over the past few years, as it's become not just a way of exchanging inane banalities, but statements.
Oh, it's still largely that.
Right. But his final tweet I thought was very compelling, and of course I retweeted it, as Dave said, to everywhere I could find. But if I could be so bold as to quote Leonard Nimoy, "A life is like a garden. Perfect moments can be had but not preserved, except in memory. Live long and prosper." And I think all of us feel the same way about Leonard Nimoy. Let's get right into it. Joining us in a few minutes will be Tim Faulkner. He's the executive editor of RI Eco News.
Eco RI.
Eco RI News.
Straight.
All right, which of course can be found at ecori.org. He'll be joining us to talk about and sort of dispel, if you will, some of the mythologies and the practical politics underlying energy delivery here in Northeast and some of the real controversies that are happening in our time that are not being widely reported on by the mainstream media. But joining us, of course, is a regular contributor and a friend of the Coalition. As we like to describe him, he is not just a reporter, but he's a man about town, the purveyor of the sport of kings, a true gentleman, a wordsmith. He is, of course, the writer of the seminal, go-to, must-read piece at Go Local Prov, the Who's Hot and Who's Not column. Of course, it would be Russell Moore. Russell, welcome back to the Coalition. Russ, what could possibly be on your mind this week?
Gentlemen, thank you very much, as always, for that introduction. How you guys doing?
Very well, Russ. Nice to hear from you.
We live the dream.
Excellent. Mr. Fisher, I wish you would have told me about that Pink Floyd show last night.
Oh, you're a Floyd fan. That's right. You're a rock and roll guy, right?
Yeah, I was looking for something to do, and not much was going on. But, of course, one of the problems with last night was it was about 6 or 7 degrees for, I think, the 50th night in a row. And
but not
really
not
cold.
Inside the Stadium Theater, though.
It was
No,
it was a
not
packed house, and
inside.
you could feel the body heat for sure.
What is going on now? Dave, explain something to me. I mean, what happened to global warming? We're breaking all types
Oh,
of records.
jeez.
The lowest temperature.
Oh, Russ,
I'm trying to
I
figure
would
out what
I
the
would
story
start
is.
punching holes in your logic, but I just don't have that kind of time today.
No, I am a believer in global warming, but my confidence is starting to be shaken here. I'm starting to think the Republicans might be onto something. I don't.
Well, they might be on something.
Maybe they should be on something.
Maybe hey, it could get legalized here in Rhode Island. Maybe we get some creative ideas coming out of Smith Hill at that point.
Nah,
Well, of course, the Rhode Island Republicans in this state have been completely co-opted by the center-right Democrats, as is a common complaint of yours, Mr. Fisher, right? Correct me if I'm
I
wrong.
think that's a big valid complaint and one of Pat's as well.
Well, I mean, if you listen to Democratic Representative Joe Trillo from Warwick,
Yeah,
you'll,
he's the first Democratic representative from Warwick in since he's 20 years ago, since he became a Democrat.
Democrat, and they voted again for Mr. Speaker, Paulie Walnuts, Nikki Quick Pockets Mattiello.
Sure.
But again, this is the same General Assembly that's probably going to be working on an issue near and dear to your heart in the bucket, isn't it?
Absolutely. It looks like the Pawtucket Red Sox, which I am a frequent attendee of, my game is to buy a ticket and kind of wait till everyone leaves and then go sit in the front row. But it looks like that game is coming to an end because the Paw Sox seem to be looking to move, and it seems like the new owners, who are as greedy as they are intelligent, in most of the front office and ownership of the Boston Red Sox has bought the team, and voila, they're looking for a sweetheart deal from the state of Rhode Island. I guess they look at us as an easy mark, and we'll open the bank account for anyone famous or anyone who's connected with professional sports.
It's baseball, man.
Evidenced
It's all
by
baseball.
Mr. Schilling. So it looks like they're looking for another sweetheart deal, and of course, we had Speaker Mattiello say, "Oh, whatever you need, I'll do whatever you want." And
What
so I
is
found
it
that
about?
rather interesting and rather revolting at the same time.
What is it about Z-list celebrities that get so much attraction, get so much spin here in Rhode Island? I mean,
I think it's got something to do with our inferiority complex. Excuse me. The fact that
Speak for yourself.
we can get a boost from a celebrity, that all of a sudden as if that gives us some sort of credence. What do you think, Pat?
I agree with you. I just see. Here's what's astonishing to me. You've got 4 or 5 sophisticated business people, and I think you're going to speak to this. 4 or 5 sophisticated business people who would have you believe that in true Mickey Rooney, Judy Garland fashion, woke up a few weeks ago and said, "Hey, Judy, let's do a show. Let's buy a sports team, and we'll just we'll spend a few $1 million on this Rhode Island institution, and then we'll just move it, and see where the chips fall as they may." They're looking for. They're looking for the land for free. Now, the land originally was slated to be open space as part of the I-95 development. If not, then it was supposed to be land that was be dedicated to building and developing real, clean jobs of an executive or a corporate nature, some way of providing some last shot of adrenaline, if you will, Pulp Fiction style, to the Uma Thurman that is our economy. Nowhere was it supposed to be an entertainment forum on a single-use stadium that will be at best employed, 50, 60 nights a year? and then just take up space on the Rhode Island waterfront. I just, it's astonishing to me the arrogance that they feel like we're supposed to be the ATM for their wet Fenway dream. I just don't get it.
Yeah, and I think giving them the land away for free is bad enough. I mean, at least we could have a rational debate over whether that's palatable or whether that's feasible. But I think the real fact here is they're going to be coming to us looking for us to finance the stadium with some sort of financial instrument.
Right.
I think that's the real thing we need to guard against here. I don't think a dime should be spent to help these wealthy businessmen move the Paw Sox from one city to the next.
And literally like a couple of miles, right? I mean, we're talking about moving the team a couple of miles down the road.
Exactly.
One of the things that I've been thinking about is, McCoy is one of the most kind of family-friendly events in the state right now. You can take a family of four to McCoy for a ball game and sit in the bleachers, and everybody gets a fat soda and a big hot dog, and it costs you less than taking the family out to the movies.
It would be less than $50. I've done the math.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, season tickets will run you, I think it's like $700, and all kinds of perks go along with that. You get like meet and greets and all kinds of stuff. I worry is, at the cost of a $60-70 million stadium, is it going to be that kind of fan-friendly atmosphere at the end of all that? And I think the answer is no.
Well, you look at the track record of the people that bought the Boston Red Sox. I mean, they've been tremendous for the team in that they've won World Series. If you're a sports fan, I think that's fantastic. But they've raised concession prices almost double. Ticket prices have soared. Everything about going to that game has become uneconomical for a middle or lower middle class family. And the Pawtucket Red Sox is everything that the Boston Red Sox isn't. So I think that's another aspect. And then the third point here that we need to keep in mind is this is no big loss. It's a big loss as far as an attraction is concerned, but it's not a big loss as far as tax revenue is concerned. The Pawtucket Red Sox don't add one dime of property taxes to the rolls of the city of Pawtucket. That stadium is owned by the state of Rhode Island, and it's leased for $1 a year. So that's interesting in and of itself. The people that own it now have a sweetheart deal in place, yet the people that bought it want an even better deal. They want even more corporate welfare. I think this whole thing stinks. I think it needs to be guarded against. I think the people that bought it are highly connected. They've donated thousands of dollars to Governor Gina Raimondo, and I'm going to cover all of these facts and all of these points will be addressed in my next Go Local Proud column.
One of the other things that's occurred to me about this whole thing is, for a largely seasonal stadium, you're talking, maybe 6 months out of the year, you're going to get any kind of use out of it, including baseball games, concerts, whatever.
Exactly, yep.
But, the real money is in Providence. Parking, baby. A multi-level parking structure that they can be charging, $3 an hour or whatever it is to park down there when you got to go downtown to the new, technology district. I think that's the kind of the long view on their, on the investors' part. It's like, hey, we're going to be making money all winter with people paying for parking. So, we can take a loss on the ticket sales and the concessions and write that off because we still got money coming in from parking. And I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a separate entity, a separate kind of shell corporation that came in to run the parking structure.
Well, and two, look at the murderer's row, if you will, of investors behind this. I mean, of CVS fame, you've got Thomas, I call him Consent Decree Ryan. Google Consent Decree and CVS in Rhode Island and watch the flood of pages pass through you on all the different sketchy, shall we say, issues that have arisen during the most recent CVS history.
If you ever heard of Pharmacy Freedom of Choice, I mean, he was the guy that was in charge of CVS when all these legislators were being bribed to thwart pharmacy freedom of choice, which meant we all had to pay more for our prescription drugs, thanks to him.
Exactly, and it was, I'll call it white bag Gerald Martineau, who got the concession to do those sketchy white bags, which our next guest probably abhors, and didn't even fulfill the contract. That was under his domain. Then, of course, you've got Terry Murray, the former CEO of Fleet Bank. I call him Terry Redline.
Fleet Bank?
Yeah, Terry Redline Murray, who, under his tutelage, if you will, the fine people at Fleet Bank became taken on by the federales for redlining entire swaths of the very communities that people like Terry Murray grew up in. And then, of course, you've got the Honorable Mr. Skeffington, who's been lionized by certain parts of the media, WPRI, Ted Nesi, but for